Welcome to my video diary called The Irony of Social Media. Posting on social media while ranting about how you hate social media. The irony of social media. I got on here today because I know I'm not the only one who's sick and tired of this shit. And I'm usually not a negative person. I do love to rant. But I try to be optimistic about things. If anything, I do consider myself an eternal optimist. I've been called naive and overly optimistic plenty of times. But I just got on here to say that I am concerned about where things are heading. And I made a post back in January about starting a homestead and just asking around to see if anybody was interested in that idea, because I know I'm not the only one who's noticed this either, but things have been changing a lot over the last decade, and especially over the last 4 years since 2020. It's almost like 2020 started a brand new cycle, and in a way it did. Now we're in the 2020s. Hold on, let's flip this thing around. Woo! Yeah, COVID started a new cycle, okay? And it was the weirdest year ever because it was so polarizing. What I mean by that is that you had tons of different people who had completely different experiences while somehow living on the same earth in the same environment, yet our experiences were so different that we ended up losing relationships over what happened that year. You had people who, got COVID, got sick, watched loved ones die, and watched people suffering. The most up thing about that year was that you couldn't even be in the hospital with somebody when they were passing away. Are you kidding me? If that doesn't make you guys livid, then I don't know. Where's your heart? I don't know. I can't believe we even as people let that happen. I can't imagine if that had happened to me. I would be climbing over desks, punching someone in the face. Most likely. I don't know. So anyways, you had that. People that watched death happen all around them. People that were forced to work exhausting jobs because they were essential workers. And then you had people who had essentially the opposite experience. You had people who didn't know anyone that got COVID, who thought it was a hoax and a lie because they didn't know anyone that got sick. They didn't know anyone that died from it. I love these things that I find. I like that. And some, a lot of dirt in there. Okay, anyways, back to my point. So those people didn't know anyone that died. They were non-essential workers, so they didn't have to go to work. They got called off, and they got to work, or they got paid more money than they've ever got paid in their whole life, like $900 a week to do nothing. I mean, I know that I was one of those lucky people. I was shocked. And a lot of those people, who had the opportunity to take time off, made use of it. Me personally, I taught myself how to sew. I used all of my stimulus money, most of it, on self-care, but also investing in a lot of fabrics and costume stuff. And that's how I got into, I guess I call it cosplay because it's costumes. I found more treasures. Hold on. Yeah, nope, not that one. Anyways, got into sewing and fashion design, and I became obsessed with it, and I taught myself how to do it. But a lot of people got into wellness that year, and COVID gave them the opportunity to get started on a new path. But my point with all of it is that you had people living people having very separate experiences and sharing the same world. And I think that is what caused a lot of conflict that year. What's crazy about it all, especially when it comes down to the vax and all that, and people's opinions on that, you lost entire family relationships were destroyed. You had people saying awful things to their family and their loved ones, I hope you. Actually, I don't think they said that. I don't know why I said that. I just saw a shirt. So another desert find. Probably full of cacti. That's a shame because this is actually a pretty cool shirt. Hold on. Desert finds. Ooh, some moon maiden. I don't know if you're gonna get the cacti out of that. Let's be real. Is that a spider? Probably. Anyways, I'm taking back my bullet. Think about picking that up later. Anyways, polarizing experiences. people losing relationships over what was happening, people who still probably don't speak to their family to this day, and people believing so much that what they were saying was right that they were willing to lose those relationships. So what are we learning? What did we learn from this? Did we learn anything? This is what I learned. Who am I to try to convince anyone to see things the way that I see them? I don't think it's worth losing relationships. I think everybody is entitled to believe what they want. And, you know, that is a double-edged sword to think that way too, because when we were all fear-mongered into believing that the unvaccinated were going to, you know, spread diseases and catch one, and now there's information coming out 4 years later where a lot of people that were over-vaccinated are having a lot of health problems. We're seeing a lot of turbo cancers in people in their 30s. Maybe that's misinformation. I don't know. I just have some people close to me that happened to, and there's, you know, probably no correlation. Who knows? That's my point though. Who knows? There's so much information these days. We cannot properly sift through it. And you can be one person who's seen X, Y, and Z on the algorithm. You're, you know, the last, since 2012, 2014, when all of the, you know, when cell phones suddenly became this thing that, woo, love birds. Yeah, cell phones became a thing that were these handheld devices that we can't put down. So those people, you know, been on your cell phone since 2014. Now there's these algorithms that are just showing you things that appeal to you. So it's things that you've already clicked on. So it's making you super polarized in what you think, what you feel, what you believe. And then there's people who have opposite experiences because they click on things that are totally different. So, you know, what you call misinformation might be, you know, reality to somebody else based on, you know, their 10 years of research or whatever they've been showed and programmed with. That's what's happening. We're being programmed by what we see, and it's becoming a problem. Like, of course, there's great things about social media. On the plus side, it connects us to people that we never would have had access to, you know, however, thousands or hundreds or even decades ago. But now we can connect with people and somehow stay in touch with people that we went to high school with. But nothing against those people, but in some cases, like, why would you want to? Why do you care what somebody who you met when you were 18 like thinks about your life? But now they have access to everything, and let's be honest, they have access to mostly our highlight reels, not necessarily even, you know, the real stuff that we go through. So we all have this AI or what's it called, avatar version of us online, and we're all married to our cell phones and the image that we portray online. And we've all become obsessed with validation and getting likes. And I don't know if this is anybody else's experience, but I've been an artist my whole life, and I've been around musicians, you know, for close to a decade when I was playing music. And then I was have been around comedians, and they all have one thing in common. They all want to be famous. We're all trying to get likes. We're all trying to get stage time. But the thing that is most disturbing to me, why do you want to be famous? It's disturbing to me when I ask people that and they can't even tell you why. Or their response is like, I just want to be rich. Okay, well, what are you going to do with your riches? Buy a lot of Maseratis? Buy a bunch of properties so I can become more rich? Why? Why are you worshiping money? You just want to be rich so you can have more stuff. Well, guess what? Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to have a lot of money and not have to work and have more than they need in this consumeristic society. And it's my personal opinion, which probably doesn't really matter all that much because I'm one person. So, you know, take it or leave it. But my personal opinion is like, I don't believe when you have such general intentions like that, especially when they're self-serving. I think that's why a lot of people stay stuck. They don't even know how they would use their platform. Not to mention how we're already bombarded with videos and social media posts enough, right? So then now we have all these people. I don't know if I'm unique in this or if this is happening more common, but I'm noticing a lot more and more people who are now sending me their reels every time they post them. Yet they're not reciprocating, they're not liking, they're not commenting, they're not sharing, which I don't care. But my point is, It's extremely self-serving. It's like everybody's like, hey, look at me, go like my shit. Hey, I just came out with a new song. That's great. I want to celebrate your creativity. I do. But if you're just another rapper who's talking about hoes and money while the world is slowly falling apart behind you, I don't have 2 seconds of my time to donate to listen to your songs, because I'm more concerned about what's happening all around us. I'm more concerned about our next generation. I'm more concerned about our reproductive rights being taken away. I'm more concerned about the fact that they're trying, and they did in other countries, force people to get. It's insane to have somebody else have control over your body and your life, and people are being brainwashed into thinking that this is okay, and they have noble intentions behind it. They're doing it to keep everybody else safe. But what were they doing thousands and millions of years ago? Oh, they're probably dying a lot younger. Okay, now we have, yes, all this AI technology coming out that's saying we're gonna have humans that are gonna be able to live till 500. They're gonna have advanced robotics in the medical field that are going to be so advanced that we may actually be able to do that. Cancer is going to be curable and treatable. May already be, and just not hidden to the public, because guess what? Sound frequencies, stuff like that, meditation, healing your trauma, all these natural healing modalities that people want to laugh at and be like, oh, that's woo-woo, how stupid that you believe in God. I'm an atheist. Like, they're somehow better than us for actually believing in something that actually provides value to your life and makes you not want to every day. I don't know about you guys, but when I didn't have a God and I didn't have a higher power, I felt like I worshiped things like alcohol, like men that didn't call me back, like weed, like likes on social media, or the idea of becoming famous. Yet if you asked me 10 years ago why I wanted to be famous, I couldn't tell you. And that's because I didn't have an awakening back then, and I feel like I wasn't supposed to, because I feel like in order to be who I am now and where I am now, and the value that I plan to provide in the future that I've already in my mind been providing people through readings and tarot and astrology, and just simply being there to hold space for people as they're healing. If you asked me 10 years ago why I wanted to be famous, like, I don't know, I couldn't tell you. And I needed to go through that experience of like worshiping all those things outside of me, giving my power away to all these things outside of me, in order to have a breakdown and realize that that's not fulfilling. I've had jobs where I made so much money and I was so broken inside. I was having emotional breakdowns every day. I had jobs where I could travel to California and be at the beach on the weekends. And again, I was unfulfilled inside. I had so many friends. I always had people to go out and drink with and hang with, and I was unfulfilled inside. I used to get Botox and hair extensions and get my eyelashes done and my nails. And I'm not hating on those things. I think if they feel good to you, then you should do it. But I'm just saying, I felt compelled to spend my money because I felt that's what guys wanted, and that's how you would be more likable and more attractive. I wasn't focused on my insides. Your insides are the only thing that matter. Your insides are what change your outside circumstances in ways that you would not believe. And yet again, there's people that want to on that idea because I hate to say it, but you've been brainwashed by social media and all these other things. And if you were so smart and about the fact that there is no God, then why are you so depressed? Why are you anxious? Why do you have to drink every weekend? Why are you getting lost in TV shows? Why do you have to be on Tinder and Bumble and get a new hot chick in your bed every night? Why are you miserable if you're going to be honest with yourself? Let's be real. I don't take advice from people that are miserable. Yeah, everybody wants to give you their unsolicited advice, especially comedians, especially musicians who they've been in the scene for 10 years and you'll get there someday. Just gotta do this, then you can book this show. It's good, man, but you gotta work on that a little more. No. And here's my unsolicited advice for you guys. Don't take unsolicited advice from anyone that you don't want to be. And if they're not happy with themselves, 100% don't take their advice. That's what's happening. It's like the blind leading the blind out here. A lot of people are unhappy. They put on a face on social media and act like they're happy, but they're not. And let me tell you from personal experience, I wasn't either. I relate to that. I relate to it so much. And I've literally devoted my whole life to helping people like that, trying to shine some kind of light of consciousness in them, because I'm sick of watching people die from alcoholism at really young ages, especially these people who are talented artists and musicians, and they have so much to offer the world, yet they weren't alive long enough to discover that purpose because their lives were cut too short, because they fell victim to the programming, to the media, to the emptiness and the brokenness and whatever we're bombarded with. So many things. I've never been out this far. This is pretty nice. But anyways, yeah, I just think that we have our priorities wrong here. And back to what I was saying about 16 minutes ago before I went on an ADHD rant, which is a whole nother conversation in itself, because so many of us are suffering from mental illness. But I have a whole theory about that too. I think the people that the doctors call mentally ill are really the saviors of our society. And that's a scary thought. You know why? Because they're more sensitive naturally. Yet, we grow up in a world where doctors know everything. Doctors are gods to a lot of people because they went to school and they're educated and they make money. Like it's a status symbol. But look at the world outside of you. Look at our political choices. One side wants to take away your reproductive rights. And I understand the sentiment that people are selfish and they use abortion for selfish reasons. But I personally think it's more selfish to bring a child into this world that you're probably going to hate, because every day if you got by, God forbid, a family member or incest or something, and you're forced to carry that child to term, now you have to look at that child every day, or I guess put them up for adoption, but you got to go through the trauma of birthing a baby and then knowing that you gave up a baby, breaking your the rest of your life and probably splitting your taint. I've heard horror stories. I'm just saying that's not fair to push that on somebody else either. And I don't agree with, people using abortion as birth control. I think that's wrong too. But the truth is somewhere in between. And yet we're being forced essentially to pick between two candidates. Some of them have good points on this side. Some of them have good points on that side. And God, it's so beautiful out here. So we're, I guess, supposed to pick one. And what's even more insane to me is that one or two people or a small group of people can run a country of 8 billion people. And look at what's happening. I don't know if you guys know. I feel like most of us are too distracted to give, and then we also want to just assume that somebody else is going to handle it. Yet slowly around us, not to be negative or anything, but I'm just looking at the quality of the food in the last 4 years. I remember when avocados were good. I could eat one for breakfast. Mangoes were juicy and delicious. I remember when strawberries were real. I remember eating strawberries from my grandmother's garden, as well as tomatoes. I had lettuce from a friend's garden months ago, and I was shocked because it tasted nothing like the supermarket romaine lettuce I'm accustomed to. It was soft, it was flavorful, it was delicious, and I ate it warm. It wasn't even refrigerated. It is so crazy. I've had also had apples on the farm back in Ohio, a handful of years ago, and they were delicious. I used to pick berries with my grandmother and my aunts and my cousins, and they were amazing. And now, not that you can't do stuff these days, but if you're just going to the supermarket every day to get your food there, what's going on with the fruit? It's like Frankenstein fruit. The avocados are rotted on the inside before you can even eat them. I've let them sit on my counter for days. I am very vigilant about touching them to know when they're going to be ripe. And I'm sick of spending money on avocados that go bad no matter what phase you eat them in. And same with the mangoes. They're rotting on the inside too. Why can I taste the pesticides when I bite into the flesh? That's up. Same with the apples. Why do they have this waxy coating on them that is you can't even get it off? It's shocking. And then you are lucky enough to see a tree or whatever, pick an apple or an orange from a tree, and you're like, wow, these are a lot smaller and oddly shaped. That's probably what people ate and what they eat on farms, but it's not comparable to your supermarket GMO modified fruits and vegetables that your body can't even digest. You call yourself a vegan, yet you still have diarrhea after every meal because a lot of this shit is, again, even the organic stuff has fungi and weird in it. I bought some organic peaches the other day and experienced just that. I'm like, why are they rotting within 3 hours of bringing them home? I bought organic. And I've been buying organic mangoes. They taste a little better, but they still taste that weird pesticide stuff. This is concerning. And the fact that it doesn't concern other people, that we're just eating this, and then health problems are happening, yet for some reason it's unrelated to our diet. I don't understand that mentality. I don't understand how people have that mentality, other than the fact that they're overworked, overstressed, they have too many responsibilities, they have no time to, I hate to say it, but they don't have time to reflect or think because they're so busy. We're so busy these days. And they design it that way. So we don't have time to think. So we just trust the people on top, and we trust that they have our best intentions at heart. But I don't know about you guys. I don't want to go to the doctor when I'm sick. I don't want to go sit in this weird setting that makes me feel like I'm on an episode of like Star Trek or something, and everything is so digital these days and computerized, and then you wait in line and tell your story to the nurse, and then you have to repeat the same story to the doctor, and you get 2 minutes of their time, and you try to bring up a concern with them. They don't even have time to address your concerns because they're too busy trying to get to all the other patients. We have a lot of people that are sick that shouldn't be, and there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies that are benefiting off of that, and a lot of people who are really rich because of our ignorance. We are without facts, and then we're mad at the people who are actually reading about the facts, and we're calling it misinformation when people have direct experience with it and they're watching it happen before our own eyes. Talk about gaslighting, trying to tell somebody that something's not true when you're literally watching it happen every single day. I don't have time for that. Cool, gaslight me all you want, but I'm strong enough in my own beliefs and my own life experience. I was there, you were not. And I'm not a person that's gonna push my beliefs on other people either. I believe to each their own. I believe that in life we all get that, we have a choice. We have free will here. So we get to choose what we believe, what we think. And it's not productive to be constantly bickering with other people trying to shift their opinions. That's not going to happen. You're competing against the internet. Years of programming, years of TV programming and documentaries and music that we listen to, songs that we listen to, people that we're around, social media algorithms. We're bombarded with it. And now let's talk about the auric field, which America really doesn't teach us about when we're younger. Maybe Western medicine, like they're a lot more open to that stuff and they use it and they live by it. In America, it's kind of like the opposite. We're not trained to be in touch with our bodies. Instead, we give our power away to doctors. So just a side note, if anybody has health problems, have you ever been to another doctor and gotten a completely second and different opinion? And is that not shocking to you? Does that not tell you something like, maybe a doctor doesn't know everything? And what's crazy to me is like to go to a doctor for some like weird symptom that you have, and it's, not going away and blah, blah, and they want to run these tests and like, it could be this, it could be that. Why am I paying you? And why are you making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year if you don't know? I understand that different things manifest differently, but it just goes back to the same point. A lot of times they don't know either, and they just want to run more tests on you, and it's more money and it's more profitable for the pharmaceutical companies, and they want to give you medicine that has side effects, and then you're suffering the consequences of those side effects, and then you're going back home, you're not changing your lifestyle, you're not changing your diet, you're not doing anything for your mental health because you got to go back to work, and now you got to pay back all those hospital bills, and it's a horrible cycle, and it causes depression and it causes illness, and I am tired of it. I'm tired of people fighting. I'm tired of watching people die and have health issues and be miserable. So I was fortunate and lucky enough to have free time and a space to stay and a space to reflect. I've always been drawn to nature to begin with, so I like coming out to wide open spaces like this where I feel like human. Like I could cry right now because it's so nice and it's so peaceful, and it's such a stark contrast to these busy streets and cities where traffic is everywhere. And I live in Phoenix. Well, I live in Buckeye, an hour away from Phoenix, but I often go there for work, and every time I do, it's just draining because to sit through all that traffic, rush hour traffic, there's like 4 million people in the city. It's too much. No wonder the elites are trying to pause. You know what I'm saying? Yep, call me a conspiracy theorist. I call myself a conspiracy realist because every time I eat seed oils, the diarrhea is real. I'm not making that shit up, literally, no pun intended. I'm just saying. I'm tired of being gaslit by all you people who don't believe it, but I don't care if you believe or not, because you know what? You're not my people, and that's okay, and we can still coexist on this planet without believing the same shit. At least I believe so. Live and let live, as they say. So all of this to say, I was fortunate enough to get into some other healing modalities that I got to experiment with, like human design, like astrology, but not just your regular sun sign, newspaper, zodiac prediction. I'm talking about real astrology. I'm talking about ancient astrology. I'm talking about progress charts, lunations, cycles. Ooh, I saw a lizard. Lunation cycles, degree points in your birth chart, asteroids that we don't talk about. Your progressed moon and sun says so much about you. You can learn so much about your life and the cycles and the timeline of things in your own life. And yeah, I don't believe in, something controlling your life, because I do believe we have free will, but I think it gives you some sort of guidance and understanding of the themes and the symbolism that you're learning about while having this earthly experience. Human design I discovered in 2020 or 2021, and I immediately resonated with it. It talks about the auric field, but it's also a combination of astrology, I Ching, and the chakras. So I was already well versed in knowing what the chakras are. Okay, so if you don't know, you got like the crown chakra, your spiritual center, you got the third eye, your intuition, you have your throat, your voice. I think I stepped on a cactus one. What the hell? That did not feel good. Oh, my shoes are ruined. Okay, anyways, yikes. Okay, your third eye, your intuition, your throat, your heart chakra, how you give and receive love, solar plexus, your identity, sacral, sexual, and creativity center, and then your root chakra. It's at the base of your spine. It's how you use your energy, your adrenaline center. So all of that stuff was already, I was already familiar with it. But human design taught me about the auric field. We all have an aura. For most people, it extends about 12 feet. Some people are going to have a shorter aura because they keep their energy closer. Some people are going to have a bigger aura. You're going to feel their energy when they walk into a room. I believe it's important to know your energy type. It can help you navigate this world better. You can also find things in your human design chart that point to what your purpose is of being here on this earth. For me, I found out I'm the right angle cross of love. And doesn't it make sense? Because I'm trying to build a... Some people say it's a commune. Some people want to say it's a cult. I want to say it's a rehabilitation center for anyone who's sick and tired of this for anyone who suffers from depression, anyone who doesn't want to drink the Kool-Aid anymore. Like, come here and get well. Walk in the dirt. Feel it. Feel this shit with your hands. It feels good to have a little dust on me. Walk with your feet on it. Go pet an animal. Experience the healing of being around an animal. We're so with the way we treat our strays around here. Like, people have to have their designer dogs. Like, a regular dog isn't good enough. And let me be honest with you, I've had designer dogs. I've had Labradors growing up, and they had to be from a breeder because I had to be a black lab. And that's like when I was younger. I didn't know any better. And then I met some wrangly old mutts, some hound dog mutts, and they were the best dogs I ever had. And they don't tend to have the behavioral issues that you get when you breed the same bloodline over and over again. Kind of like what they're doing with humans. I'm just kidding. It's a joke about reptilians and the Illuminati. I don't, whatever. Oh no, I probably can't say that, can I? Anyway, it's a joke. But yeah, how we treat animals. Shelter dogs are perfectly good, and there's so many designer dogs at the shelter. If I had a nickel for every German Shepherd I saw, every Husky I saw, every little Yorkie or Chihuahua, okay? And yet you guys don't even want to check those places because it has to be from a reputable breeder. So they keep breeding them, and then dogs are dying for no reason other than our own selfishness. And I'm sorry, but if you haven't thought about like looking at shelters, there's probably shelter dogs that are designer dogs that are perfectly good dogs. And yeah, it's not your responsibility, that they're being murdered, whatever. You can't feel guilt about that. I get it. But it's just about having empathy for living beings on this planet that we share this planet with, for things other than yourself. And yeah, I guess breeders, there's also a lot of breeders who can't have all the dogs. And then again, like I said, they end up in the shelter and they get put down. And it's so sad. And I get so frustrated all the time because I'm stuck in the same cycle as everybody else. It's like you go to work, get your slave labor job, you work, $17 an hour for 8 hours a day of your time. Somebody else is writing your schedule. Then you get home, you're so drained, you don't have time to do anything else besides zone out and watch TV, which is making you programmable. And if you're putting weed and alcohol on top of that, but mostly weed, because it puts you in this like trance-like state where you're more suggestible. It's like the movie Batman and Robin, I think, or Batman Forever, where the Joker and Two-Face, like the Joker made that thing with the TVs, and like we were all the people were watching it, and he was sucking up their brain waves and their brain power, and he was becoming so powerful because of it. And call me crazy, but I feel like that's happening and we don't even know it. We're literally in a docile state. Like, weed is legal now. They're promoting it as a health thing and how it's non-addictive and how it's somehow better than, you know, whatever. And that's not currently, because I'm 18 days sober again, because I decided I don't want to be controlled by it. It makes me lazy. It makes me, you know, not clear-headed. What else? I spend money on it. I have to drive to a dispensary to get it. And now the stopping point for me was to find out that all of these popular brands are not even regulated. They're dosing and dousing them in pesticides. So now we're getting hit by that shit with every angle. Not only is our water bad, because I've talked to somebody who works at the water plant. So unless that person was lying, he said the water is not even up to standards. And there's a lot of people at jobs. Like, if you've ever worked in a restaurant industry, yeah, we know the OSA's coming or whatever. And, you know, the boss is coming. We got to act like for a day. We got to together. But on the daily, half the time people don't even change the fryer oil because half of their employees are on painkillers or weed all day, and they don't give a because they're not getting paid enough to give a. Too many people have that mentality. So you guys, we're all just blindly trusting these people, the people on the bottom who aren't getting paid to like run these corporations and, you know, live up to certain standards. But really, in reality, on the daily, they're not. And they're just, you know, every time they get checked on by the authority figures or the boss, then, you know, that day they'll have it together. But all in all, like, people are cutting corners all the time. And that's the norm. So anyways, to find out my beloved marijuana was tainted with pesticides and shit. I mean, then just looking around me at all the people who do smoke weed daily, and they're still anxious. And it's the same thing with antidepressants and stuff like that. I'm not hating on anyone that has to be on meds. I'm not saying don't take them, but I'm just saying what's happening with that. And I'm a former patient. I took Wellbutrin for a year. I never felt so dull in my life. I took Vyvanse for a handful of years because I had ADHD. And when I took Vyvanse, yeah, I got focused. Yeah, I got the job done at work a little better. Where am I going? Where should I go? You know, I got my job a little better, you know, when I was on Vyvanse. I was more productive at work, at a data entry job. It made it a little more tolerable because when I first went to that job, I just stayed on the email all day and sent memes to all my office buddies. But apparently, if you're getting paid, you gotta work, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, Vyvanse just numbs me out for a year. And then I noticed that when I would take Adderall or Vyvanse, I would start drinking coffee like a fiend, and I would smoke cigarettes like a fiend. And I kept going back to my doctor and saying, is this normal? This doesn't seem healthy. Why isn't this supposed to be helping? And she'd be like, oh no, it just means your dose isn't high enough. Your body's adjusting. So she would keep upping the dose. And then my alcoholic, you know, brain that has a tendency for addiction, because I think a lot of us are wired that way, especially the creative people. We got different brain makeup and pleasure centers or something. I don't know. But then you start becoming addicted to that. And then you're like, well, maybe I'll just tell my doctor that the next time, then I'll get more Adderall. But then you wake up in the middle of the night one night with your heart on fire because there's actual consequences at some point for these overindulgent behaviors. May not be happening now. Everything's fine and dandy, but someday there is. And I hate to put that out there like that, but even the astrology tells us that. There's periods and portals and health periods for all of us where that's what we're focused on. So it's like we have to, at some point, we're going to be accountable for our behaviors. I'm just thankful that I spent a handful of years detoxing from a lot of this stuff. I used to be a smoker. I used to be a vapor. Used to take antidepressants. Used to drink Monster and Red Bull and energy drinks. I used to eat fast food and too much sugar. And I still do from time to time. I'm not perfect either. I still have a cigarette from time to time. But I know myself now. I know that I can fall victim to that, and I know that the company you keep is super important. But even in AA, as much as I love AA and as much as AA changed my life, and as much as I needed to be brainwashed during that period, that's another thing, because people got to be mindful too as alcoholics. Like, if you're being told every day that you're a selfish piece of, like, yeah, when you're drinking you are, but at some point you learn to correct your behaviors if you're actually working a program and doing it, you know, how we're supposed to do, and doing the 12 steps and talking to the sponsor, blah, blah, blah. If you're actually correcting that behavior, in theory, you should become a much better person. I know I did. I know that once I learned the error of my ways and knew how it made people feel, I had empathy for that, and I don't want to be that person. It does not compute to me that somebody could see the pain in someone's eyes and how you have affected somebody, how your behaviors have affected somebody, and then not give it. Like, that's demonic and that is evil to me. I don't understand. But I think any person with actual empathy is going to understand the error of their ways and then hopefully make better choices. But even that being said, it's like, to make better choices, we're still responsible for that. It's not these pills that are going to make us better. It's not dating the right guy or finding the right one that's going to make it better. It's not the next exercise program or the book. Like, all that stuff helps, and it helps you on the journey of it. But really, it's about self-reflection. It's about taking accountability for yourself and stop projecting on other people. Geez, I don't know. I didn't know where I was going with this video. I don't even know if anybody's gonna watch it, but if you watched it, if you're watching, if you made it this far, then consider yourself one of my people and consider yourself invited to join me as I try to change things. Can't reinvent the wheel for everybody, but what I can do is put my signal out to find like-minded people who are also sick of this shit, who want to see changes, who know that they're responsible for those changes that they want to see in the world. We have to stop waiting for somebody else to save us. We keep on waiting on the world to change. Okay, we can't keep doing that. We have to be the ones to take action. So that is what I'm doing. I'm going to business classes, free business resource classes every Thursday. I am putting my signal out there. I am connecting with as many people as I can who believe in the vision. And yeah, the biggest thing the biggest hurdle for my vision of this eco-village rehabilitation center, I'll tell you guys all about it. But we're looking for investors and capital, startup money, but also people to work it. And I believe that everybody has skills that God or the universe or whatever has blessed us with. What if we all just started sharing those skills with each other? Maybe it's in exchange for money. Maybe it's in exchange for something else valuable that you find valuable, and some kind of trade society and trade system. Yeah, and sometimes money will be a part of that trade. But we have to start valuing ourselves. It's what Leo season is all about. It was about finding what it is that lights us up and then sharing that with the world. And now Virgo season is anchoring that in, and we're putting the systems in place that are going to help us anchor that in. I want to go find that shirt. I should have taken it. I liked it. I don't know where I found it. Anyways, yeah, it's all about anchoring it in now. So putting out the signal for our like-minded people to find us, anchoring that in. And then the rest of the year, once we get to Libra on, the next 6 months of the zodiac year are all about bringing that out into the world and connecting and sharing that with other people. So, all of that being said, let me tell you about Freedom for Strays. I found the shirt. Freedom for Strays. I call it Freedom for Strays because we deserve freedom. How I found freedom is by looking into myself, looking inside of myself, educating myself, allowing my intuition to guide me, allowing things that are pleasurable to guide me. The other thing that we're kind of learning in Virgo season too is, it's like this saying, like, the body keeps the score. Your body keeps the score. So when you're sifting through information, which we all have information overload these days, your body's going to feel one of two ways. You're either going to read something and it's not going to resonate with you. It's not going to really feel good. Or you're going to read something that's like, whoa, it's going to give you those spiritual chills. It's going to give you an aha moment. It's going to make you want to share that video with your friend. It's going to resonate with you. That's how it is for me anyways. And that's why I like to constantly seek out information, because I like to let, my emotions be the guide of that. That's why we have emotions. We're not supposed to cover it up with antidepressants or, meds. And I'm not saying that some people shouldn't be medicated, but there's other ways to heal from it. And the thing that I see happening with a lot of people is that they're in therapy for 10 years. They're on antidepressants for 10 years. Their life might get a little better. They may learn how to cope with things a little better, but they're so depressed. And then at some point they're going to decide they don't want to be dependent, because how annoying is it that pharmacies are closed on weekends? How annoying is it when your paycheck is late or you have some other emergency come up and now you can't afford your prescription, but you don't want to open another credit card because your credit sucks, or you can't afford to pay it back, and you're stuck in crippling debt. So you try to get off your psych meds, and then you start feeling maybe better for a couple of days, and then you start feeling worse. And the longer you've been on them, the harder it is to break off. I remember when I was on them, when I was on Adderall for shit like that brings me to tears. I don't know why. Just a beautiful, majestic eagle flying so close to your head. I love it out here. This is my freedom, and I envision a place out here in the desert, somewhere where the animals can come. We can go rescue animals that are being killed for no reason other than the shelter is overpopulated and no one wants to work there because they're not getting paid enough to survive. So God bless the workers. I used to be one of them. I know how grueling it is. I know how sad it is wrapping puppies in garbage bags because they're dying from parvo because you don't have enough staff to take care of them. Half of them are so overworked, they're trying to follow the safety protocols, but they forget because they're overwhelmed. There's too many people living that way. So I want to create a space for anyone who would like to join. Of course, we will vet and make sure you're not a criminal and that you're not there for the wrong reasons and that you're not just trying to get a free handout. But if you want to connect with like-minded people, if you want to put your hand in the dirt, if you have a skill to share, something to trade, like if you believe in the vision, like we can make this happen together, and that's the only way it's going to happen. Imagine if the internet shuts off tomorrow. Imagine if there's some kind of war and some other country bombs us, or there's a blackout. We're so reliant on these cell phones with the GPS and everything. We can't get anywhere without GPS, even if we made that trip like 20 times. I mean, maybe after a certain amount of time you remember where you're going, but I'm just saying, like, we are over reliant on this stuff. And what if it all goes away and you're not friends with your neighbors because you're friends with your internet friends? And what happens when it's the fan? You have to go over to your neighbor that you've been beefing with because they put their music up too loud and you can't sleep because of it, or they're mad at you because your dog's barking and they don't like dogs. Now you're gonna go have to knock on their door and say, hey, can I borrow some eggs? They're gonna be like, oh, remember that last time you called the HOA on me because my dog was barking too loud? You, bro. And then what? We're all programmed to fear each other, guns to protect ourselves. Is that what you guys want to happen? Or maybe before something like that happens, maybe before it does happen, maybe we can prevent that from happening if we learn how to connect with people, if we learn how to value the people around us, if we stop placing money and making money our God. And again, money's not evil, it's how we use it. And let me just tell you, if I had money, if I had $1 million, I would not use it in a selfish way. I would find land and I would create these systems for people because, again, I'm sick of people being depressed and anxious and overworked and stressed out and yelling at their children and yelling at their partners and projecting on everybody else when the problem is not them. And I'm tired of people gaslighting us into thinking that we're the problem or we're mentally ill. And again, I'm not saying that mental illness doesn't exist and that's not valid. I'm just saying way too many of us are programmed to believe that we're the problem, when I think the problem is the sick society. I think the problem is that we're not putting our hands in the dirt. We're not absorbing the natural electromagnetic frequency of the ground that we walk on because we have very thick shoes. And yeah, I don't want to walk on rocks because they kind of hurt, but I'm just saying grass, rocks, dirt, sand. It's what we were designed to do. We're supposed to live in harmony with this planet. Just go sit under a tree and tell me that you don't feel God or something, because I do. We're supposed to live in harmony with the animals, even if we do eat them. Let's give them a good life. Let's not stick them in cages and cut off their beaks and treat them like scum and feed them expired plastic Hostess bags and then eat that ourselves. Like, we're not going to get sick from it, and people don't care. Yet they do care because I see it online all the time. There's so many memes. There's so many comics talking about it. There's so many artists talking about it and singing about it. But it's all talk. Where is the action? I don't know about you guys, but I'm trying to take action. And I can't do everything myself. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. I know that there's other people. I have people out here in Phoenix that want to help. When I made that post in January about starting an eco village or homestead, I had more comments on that post than anything I've posted in a long time. People don't give a about you and how you want to be famous and about your art, because I hate it. That was Freudian slip. People do care about art. People don't care about artists who are putting art out there for self-serving purposes. There's other people on this planet, and there's enough people who are trying to get famous for the sake of being famous just because they want to have money. I don't care about that anymore. I don't care about influencers that are just gonna, what are you doing with your platform? And if you're not famous yet and you're, you know, chasing that dangling carrot, hoping and wishing that you will get famous, maybe you should think about what you would do with that platform. Maybe you would think about what you want to do with that money. You just want to have money so you have it so you don't have to work again. What would you be doing with your time if you could do anything? If you could have any job that you wanted. If money wasn't an issue, what would you do with your time? That's what I like to ask myself, and I like to ask everyone I meet that, because I want to put them in the mindset that, hey, that's possible. If it's possible for me, if I find a way to break out of this matrix and make human design and astrology and clothing and jewelry and comedy and music production and blah, 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 and all these things my outlet, then you can too. And I don't know, when I was, you know, when my ass was falling off and I was depressed, my life was falling apart, it wasn't the therapist that nursed me back to health. Yeah, you know, on some level they helped me understand myself a little better. In a lot of cases I came prepared for that shit. I knew more than the therapist did. I'm like, hey, I've been reading online, think I might be bipolar, think I might be borderline, got this relationship with my mom and my dad, and then what do you think about that? But no, they just want to talk about nothing. They just want, what do you do for work? So this is weekend, maybe you should make a list. And they want to give you an hour of their time, and they look zoned out too. I went to one therapist one time years ago. We were talking about ADHD, and he told me that most people who have ADHD die before the age of 40, and they usually kill themselves in a really creative way, like walking in the street to traffic, and he laughed about it. And yeah, I didn't go back to that therapist. But what helped me was AA. And I'm not saying AA or 12 steps are the path for everyone, but the thing I got out of that was community. It was people on a similar journey. It was making our lives God-centered. And even if you don't believe in God, it was us being self-centered, but not in a narcissistic way. It's healthy narcissism. It's healing to look at yourself, and it's very freedom to say, I'm the problem. Because if I'm not the problem, that means I'm not the solution. And the solution is outside of me. And that takes away my power. And that's a really scary place to be when you don't even have power to change things. And when the world is slowly burning to the ground around us and falling apart. You know what I'm saying? So that's my point about that. You know, having, you know, somebody who's been where you have been before, who can reach their hand out and show you how they got out of it. And that is what I intend to do at Freedom for Strays. And I intend to do that in so many different ways. I intend to do that by rescuing animals and having a space for animal therapy, because my dogs nurse me back to health and they give me unconditional love every day. I find it very healing to be in the presence of animals. I find it healing to drink a glass of raw milk. I'm just kidding, I don't drink raw milk, but I'd like to try it. But I find it healing to pick an apple from a tree or an orange from a tree. I had a lemon tree in my backyard for like a month, and then my fucking neighbor called the HOA on us because he was worried it was going to destroy the foundation of his house, so they had to cut down and kill this beautiful lemon tree, and I'm so sad and livid about it. But building stuff, the other thing is like data entry. These jobs where we're stuck in a cubicle inside all the day are not healing. They're not good for our mental health. Again, they're keeping you inside, away from natural sunlight. My life has changed dramatically since moving to Arizona, and I get to be in the sunlight every day. And I'm so grateful for that, because for a long time I was in Cincinnati in the gray weather, and it was very, I smell a dead animal. Ugh. Where is it? I have to find some bones. Anyways, yeah, what was I gonna say? I'm glad that I live out here now, because I get to see sunshine every day, and seasonal depression is real. So not only would go buy land in a place that is central enough location, but far enough away from the city where we're not aura to aura with everybody. And I want to build natural earthship homes. I want to build them together with my friends, with my neighbors, with my community. I want to be proud of the work that I did. I want to have a garden. I want to learn how to garden. I want to feel satisfaction in the work that I do on a daily basis. I don't want to sit behind a desk or be a social media influencer all day. Don't you see what's happening? Have you ever had one viral video and then all of a sudden, like, none of your videos go viral, and you're like, what the fuck? But you keep trying. You keep trying to have your video go viral again, but it doesn't. And even the influencers are having this problem too. So it's almost like it's rigged against us. Yet everybody thinks that they're going to be a social media influencer. Yet a lot of us are just getting a handful of views. And we're just regurgitating what everybody else is saying. doing what we think is popular, thinking that we have to follow these trends and dance around like an idiot, and nothing's happening. So let me tell you how to change that. It's gonna be person to person. Information is spread person to person. They can't take that away from us. They can take away social media, they can limit our freedom of speech. X just got banned in Brazil, but they can't take away person to person interaction, aura to aura interaction. That is how information is spread. That is how we change. That is how we awaken, enlighten, and inspire others. And I'm back to my car now, and I need help building this new community. Like I said, we're looking for investors. I'm looking for people who actually want to help build it, etc. So if that's you, if you know of investors, if you want to be an investor, if you can help in any way, please help us, because it's not just about me. It's about the future. It's about these future generation of kids that are stuck on their cell phones. I don't want to see them grow up in a world. I'm not having kids because of it. I don't want to bring them into this world. Of course, there's beautiful things in it, but I think the most beautiful future we can have, and the best chance at a beautiful future, is to join with our fellow mans, find what it is that we're passionate about, and then figure out how can we give that gift to the world. And you know, it's a scary world out there when you have bills to pay and people you're responsible for, but we have to learn to take that risk and step outside of our comfort zone, because if we don't, we'll never make it to that next level. We'll never experience that shift in our reality because we're too afraid to take a chance. So if you got anything out of this video, if you struggle with depression, suicide ideation, anything like that, I just want to encourage you, find what makes you happy, and don't be afraid to follow that. Don't listen to Karens or the Susans or the villains out there trying to tell you that your idea is impractical or how you're going to make money. Your value, you are worth more than the money you make. You have more value than that. And if you find the right people, you can trade things, you can volunteer your time, and equal energy exchange. It doesn't always have to be about money. So I hope this helps somebody, and I hope that my tribe will join me. If you resonated with this video, if you've got resources, I would love it. Thank you.